I don't care about this war. They ain't brought it to the homeland. They ain't brought it to the homeland. I'm having my breakfast, eating my sausage, drinking my coffee. Why would you think I would be interested in a war? I don't care about the wars. No, we shouldn't even be at war. Was they really even a threat? Open up the Straits of Hormuz. The Hormuz is open. I'm having my coffee. Y'all trying to stop me from having my coffee? I'm eating my coffee cake. And this would taste good to me. Be honest with you, it ain't even actually that good, but it's good. I'm just being honest. Mm, mm. Talk to me. I don't care about war. I don't care about the Gucci stuff. I don't care about none of that. Eat my coffee cake and have me a cup of Starbucks. What I care about. Care about the Lord. Care about family. Let me sum it up. About it. You know, the rest, that's for the bird. You know, it's for the bird. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'm eating my coffee cake, having my cup of coffee. Come here. Let me put that necklace on you. Come on. Come on in. Let me see how I'm gonna do this. It's facing that way. You're going to a cherry party, ain't you? Oh, look. Well, I got a double. Joe. Oh no. Oh, you representing cherries. Put that necklace on you. There you go. Is it too long? Just right. That's nice. That look good. It's laying on there. Mm-hmm. All right. Cherry, cherry, cherry. All right. So I'm back to having my cup of coffee. I don't give about the Straits of Hormuz. What I do, let the oil in so the gas price can go down. President Donald Trump, great guy. Mm. Uh, I don't really see what to discuss about it. It wasn't a threat. We dropped bombs on them, bombs over Baghdad. What the heck? I'm more so into eating that blueberry coffee cake. You ever had a blueberry coffee cake? Mm, that last piece is the best piece. Sheiky, baby. Brunch with the bull, baby. So I'm up here talking Sheiky about the Straits of Hormuz and all that. Just up here BS. What do you think about them letting in the oil, the Straits of Hormuz, the war? Give me your take on something, Sheiky. I'm having a cup of coffee. The fuck, this is America. Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. What was that all about? And we running over here to get oil. We drilling over here. Why we worry about the oil over there? He said, drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. Get them oil refineries and get them machines to drilling. Get the boys are back in town. Let them drill. Let them drill. Now, as long as we ain't talk about Chicago, because they drilling. Like, I done made this stuff. It's been a sport. I don't want to talk about that drill. I really want to talk about some real substance, some real oil. I was having a cup of coffee, 2 banquet sausage, half of a cinnamon roll, and a blueberry lemonade coffee cake with a cup of coffee. Not sure if they voted against drilling here or what. I don't know. The President Trump said drill. Great guy. So, by all means. You know, he said drill. Let us drill. Let them drill. Who's stopping that? Why we worry about opening up the strait? They say we the #1 oil suppliers in the world. I don't know how we became to be that, but we that. You Google it, it's gonna tell you America running the show on that. So I guess if we get the Straits of Hormuz, if we take that, and President Trump said take it and cherish it. Did he not? He told Japan, get in there. Y'all won't help me out, I ain't helping y'all out. They scared of drilling that would screw up the environment. That's true. That's true. So that means it's some underlining going on. He telling you to drill, but we're gonna take it. He telling you to drill. We're gonna take it. You see what they over there doing? They taking it by force. They drilling. Shoot, the United States ain't nothing but a big Chicago. Look at the world. Who is the ops? Who is the opposition? The world. China, Japan, North Korea, Iran, Iraq, all of them, Cuba, every last one of them. Yeah, they the ops. President Trump, he drilling right now. He on his, he dropping bunker bombs. Shoot, got them drones in effect. He doing all kind of intelligence. All got ice inside. Um, President Trump is all over the place. He don't care right now. He drilling. And drilling. And he winning. Got his wife on. She came up with the Epstein files, and she was a big part of that. What you think about the nation, the world, expect the U.S. and Israel saying slavery in the U.S. was the worst thing that ever happened? Depends on what kind of slavery you talk about in the U.S. Now, see, this the thing. Even the Indians had white slaves, black slaves, even blacks had slaves in the United States. It was all kind of slavery that your history books won't. Even when they killed General Custer, um, even when they killed Custer, he was with the cavalry. The Indians killed them. They had slaves. Right? The natives had slaves. They had black slaves and white slaves, and they was drilling them. They was drilling, baby, drill. But far as what I really think about it, man, everybody had their time. And everything happens for a reason. Look at America. They still one nation under God. They still believe, and it's still the best place to live in the world. In the world. I mean, if the stuff want to happen, everything happens for a reason. If the stuff want to happen, it's so much stuff that the world wouldn't have or seen or technology that wouldn't be in the world without America. America had to be created. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Black people own slaves, people own slaves to this day. You don't know what people got on their own land. You don't. They got 30 some acres, 40, hundreds and acres of land, outhouses in the middle of nowhere. You don't know what's out there. They take helicopters, fly out. What's that? That's in the middle of nowhere. That's an outhouse. Let's see what's in there. They know what's in there. Humans. 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 Uh, you know what they want? They want your organs. Organs on the black market for sale, man. We so messed up in the game right now. I mean, but I always like to go back and touch up on slavery just to find out if it's anything new. If it's anything new, the master, he would take the wife and go drill her. He would take the husband and go take his manhood and drill him. And then when master went to town on the horse and the carriage to get his stuff or to go for a business meeting, the wife would go out. She didn't want the house um inward. She wanted the field inward. She would take him and bring him in the house and tell him to drill before the master get back. Then 9 months later, the baby comes out black. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I mean, this stuff, I can't make it up. I can't make this stuff up, man. But I really, for some reason, I like to watch slavery movies. I like this just to go back and look at the history. And times was good then, but not more so for blacks. I don't condone it, but it happened, and we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. It happened. It's done. It's over with. It happened. We got to the greater good. We here now. We here now. They drilling. They making the YouTube shorts. Who was I looking at last night? I've been all over YouTube. Charleston White. I mean, you wouldn't have that stuff. Uh, there's a lot of stuff that's in the cookbooks that you would have never. A lot of delicacies that weren't for slaves. There's a lot of stuff that one have never got to see if it weren't for slaves. And for Black Americans, period. Because look at Africa, how they depict it. They'll never show the developed side. Well, now they do. But back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, they were still making it seem like Africa was, those people was over there in mass starvation. Now, certain countries, but come on now, that stuff is developed. They up and running. But for the Black Americans, they invented everything that was on the wheel. They was drilling in that area in invention, man. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we wanna never ever got to understand. And if it, we wanna never experience Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, you never seen none of that. So there's a lot that derived out of America. I'm not saying slavery now. There's a lot that derived out of America being invented, or America being uh coming out of the 13 colonies. I think all the inventions would still have been made, but might have come along later. It would have been gatekeeping. That's true, but the way we learn in this country, the way we develop in this country, because China, I don't think, I really don't think, because of trade and trade and knowledge and ideas, I don't think, uh, even though China had a lot of old stuff, a lot of stuff just stayed old. They never developed new systems. America came along, started trading ideas, started inventing, stuff started to pop. The world started to get more advanced. I'm telling you, like, a lot of people just would still be with kerosene and little lanterns. You know, I don't even know if the light bulb would have been invented, because the Chinese people just take some candles, some kerosene, and keep it moving. They loved it. It takes great minds to invent this stuff. And without America being America as a whole, a lot of this stuff wouldn't have gotten invented, because your mind had to be great. I mean, look at the new inventions now. That's because people know how to invent stuff now. People know that you can put this together, YX equal this, and you can put all this mathematics stuff together and invent stuff now. So, you know, now basically all you can invent now is a great concept. Many inventions were stolen from black. It was. It was. But let me tell you, this is why you can't count nobody out when they stole it. When they stole the inventions, like they put that invention on steroids. They made that invention better. You know, the white man always stole the inventions from the blacks, but he said, if you give it to me, I'll make it better. And that's why you have to work together. That's why you're not just as good by yourself. What the Bible say? Two heads is better than one. So, even though I can invent it, a lot of inventions have been took to the next level because people came and reinvented it or put their spin on it, and it became better. But all inventions are good, whether they was old, modern, or it doesn't matter. They will all serve a greater good. But we all went through what we went through. What if they would have never broke away from the English or the British? The British are coming. The British are coming. What if America would have never developed the 13 colonies and uh the Constitution, the way it's set up? They wouldn't even be free. They'll be still owned by the Europeans. They wouldn't even be free. They'll still be owned by the British. The Queen still would be coming attacking to this day, saying, "Look, you know, you got to pay your taxes. We still own y'all." Man, this stuff goes so deep. But we gotta appreciate where we at right now in life. Kuta Kente went, listen, you could try to beat the brakes off him. He won't listen. God dog. And eventually, like you said, a lot of stuff would have been invented, but in a different way. Man, America still claim to be one nation under God. God's still touching us. Because we up right now. The irony of people escaping England for religious freedom, but in America, we look down on others who aren't Christian. Yeah, yeah. One nation under God. America still under God. They still getting blessed. Man, back in those days, in those different countries, the laws and the ruling was so strict. I feel a sneeze coming on, or it went away. But the laws and the rules so strict. You do one little minute thing, there go your finger, there go your hand, there go a limb. I don't want to be nowhere like that. America, they put you on the chain gang, put you out there in that hot sun. Old boy stand over you with that long rifle, give you a sip out of that water pail. Uh, get back to work. Under God was added in the 1950s, the original saying that say that. Well, enlighten me, Shiki. What did the original saying say? Because we know that in the Constitution, the black man was three-fifths of a man. It's a lot. I keep telling you, this stuff goes deep. Stuff was added, stuff was taken away, stuff was thrown under the table. Uh, and we know what that oh say can you see? We know the original song of that. No slave can be free. We but look where we at now. I was just looking at the guy that was up under the Biden administrator, sort of like Pete Hedge said, but he was over the Navy, the head of the Navy, black man, big black general. He was over the Navy, sort of like Colin Powell. Them black was some of the smartest on earth. Boy, they did it for America. It was one nation. Didn't the blacks do it for America? Boy, I tell you, we built this place up just to hear Farrakhan talk about it. We fought in Iwo Jima. All them countries he was calling out. I'm pretty sure y'all done seen that YouTube short with Farrakhan saying where the black people done fought and everywhere they done fought, boy. I just be looking at some historic stuff that the black people done in the Navy. How one Navy boat was at war and they done shot a missile or something in it, and the black guys had to go underwater and patch up a hole. And that's crazy. They deep in the middle of the ocean. These were getting down, bruh. I'm telling you, these black was so like shoot, they dropping bombs and these niggas in the middle of the ocean with a hole you sinking at a rapid. They in underwater welding. And this way back where you had that big old suit and they just man, the technology won't be that good, but it was good enough. If not for black people, everyone would still be in the caves. I think you're right. You know who made the pig polite? When they fed us those scraps, boy, we made the whole pig shake. Now everybody eat the whole pig. Ain't no more scraps of the pig. Pig is a delicacy. China is the number one consumer of pig. Now, shoot, boy, the black man made the pig so good. Ooh, I tell you, the black folks done put it on America, boy. Put it on the whole wide world. Can't nobody out jump Michael Jordan. He had a documentary said, "Come fly with me." I thought about it. I was on the basketball court the other day, and I tried to jump like he did at the age. Nah, he was flying. He flew from the free throw line. And he'll be leaning in. Could really fly. And you know we got the movie White Man Can't Jump. That is true. That is true. But some black men, man, if you don't train to do what that body do, Michael Jordan body could go through the air and just fly. Half of all them black athletes, they could fly. Motherfuckers can really fly. I'm saying to myself, man, I can't fly, but I knew I had it in me when I was young, but I ain't trained to that level. Classic movie. Classic. Man, I tell you, boy, if it weren't for America, boy, the world, America will bomb you and rebuild you. Ask Japan. Japan's still up under their signature. They had to sign their John Hancock. Japan's still up under their signature. They ain't even got nukes over there no more. They can't bust a move, but if you mess with Japan, or what's that place Joe Biden say? If China try to go to war with them like Russia did Ukraine, what's the name? It's right on the tip of my tongue. The South China Sea, what they over there fighting for. Joe Biden said if you met Taiwan. Joe Biden said if you mess with Taiwan, ooh, Rocket Man, North Korea. They seen two black stealth planes, and that was it. I gotta take a break, a 5 minute break. I gotta walk outside real quick. I gotta walk outside real quick. Taiwan, there you go. I knew you knew it, Sheikah. She could control the chat before I get back. Just put it running. Come on, Jed. Get that. Get the pasta sound. Come on back. Get out. Got the pasta sound? No, you got to get it. I get it. Hand me that bag. This bag? Yeah. In the door, man. Come on, man. You needed the spoon, but you got everything ready. I ain't taking no. Yeah. Okay, they'll have it. I'm going to leave mine. They can have it. Hold it. Both hands. Both hands? Get back on my live.
Oh, you have to get back
Yeah.
to your YouTube schedule.
Yeah, I'm just messing around right now. Sit back. All right, let me see. Can I finish up this cup of coffee? All right. Everybody that got up out of here. All right, bro. Good chat. Yeah, TT. Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. All right. What happened to that stand, Ava? That pink stand.
I don't know. I never touched.
Okay. Oh, bless you.
Maybe you misplaced it, Daddy.
I did. I'm sorry. Did I just hit my head? All right. I'm back, you guys. What's good? I'm back. Are y'all good? Anything you want to chat about, man? Talk to me. This have been a good chat. We was chatting about great stuff. Straits of Hormuz, Trump, all that. You know, we was on it. I just want to know what y'all really think about it. Or I see it. Oh, you got it. Okay. A lot of people, a lot of people. Are they my equal? No. Are they my equal? Could they be my equal? No. Uh, they're not my equal. And so I'm gonna go over a few of these questions with AI. I'm gonna read back through the little chat that we was talking about. Hey, co-host.
Yeah, what's up? Anything on your mind?
Yeah, I need you to. I'm gonna read some questions to you, co-host, about this stuff that I was talking about on my live stream, and I want you to tell me. So
All right, I'm ready.
We was talking about Eisenhower added under God as the law back in 1954, one nation under God.
That's exactly right. Eisenhower signed it into law in 1954. The idea was to basically emphasize a distinction between the US and the Soviet Union at the time, highlighting America's religious values against communist atheism. Is there something specific you wanted to discuss about that addition?
So on the dollar bill in 1954, did it say one nation under God?
Actually, the phrase on the dollar bill is "In God We Trust," not "One Nation Under God." And that change was approved a little later, in 1956, with the first dollar bills carrying it in 1957. Were you thinking
Okay.
about both editions at the same time?
Yeah, what did the dollar bill say before? Hold up. That's what the one nation under God is what the whatchamacallit say.
Right. One Nation Under God is in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how that was added to the pledge in 1954, while the motto, "In God We Trust," is on the money. Did that clarification help?
Yeah, that helped a lot because I forgot. So In God We Trust was added when?
It first appeared on coins much earlier, back in 1864, but it wasn't added to paper currency until 1957. Is there anything else about that history you're
So
curious about?
what the paper if you have paper currency before 1957, is it worth anything?
It could be. The value depends on a few things, like how rare it
Wait. What did they do with the paper currency? Did they burn it or did they recycle it?
Generally, when old bills get worn out and are taken out of circulation, they're shredded. In the past, burning was common, but recycling or just destroying the shredded material.
So if they shred it, did they reuse the material?
They do sometimes. Shredded currency can be used for things like insulation, building materials, or even turn into compost sometimes. It
Oh
depends.
wow. Oh, they didn't use it to make new money?
That's right. They don't use it for printing new currency. US bills are made from a special blend of cotton and linen, and they need fresh materials for that process, not recycled paper. Anything else about the
Oh, so who took them out of circulation? How did they get rid of it? The banks just start collecting after the years?
Yeah, that's basically right. Commercial banks receive all kinds of money, and when they spot old or worn out bills, they set them aside and send them to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is then the one that replaces them with new bills and destroys the old ones. Is there another part of that process you're wondering about?
Oh, so the banks are the ones that get the old money off the street. So let's say if I got a lot of old money that's been stacked for over 48 years.
If you have old bills that have been saved for that long, they're still legal tender, meaning they're technically valid for their face value.
No. Let's say I got old bills that's been stacked over 67 years.
Even with bills that are 67 years old, they're still legal tender. But since they'd be from before 1957, they might be worth more to collectors than their actual face value, depending on how rare they are and what condition they're in. Is that making sense?
I'm just saying, just let's say they before 1957. Let's say they right at 1950.
Got it. Bills from 1950, being before 1957, fall into that category where they might have collectible value beyond their face value. The exact worth really comes down to which.
So if I was to go to a bank and I wanted to trade this money in and get new money for it, would they tell me that these are collector items or would they just take it and trade it?
A bank would just take them and trade them for new bills for you, likely for their face value. They typically don't evaluate collectible value or tell you about that.
But what if they knew? What if the teller knew that those bills was very collectible and would they tell?
Even if the teller knew they might be, it's unlikely they would tell you. Bank tellers are focused on processing the transaction, and they aren't trained or required to give advice on the collectible value of currency. Their main goal is to exchange the bills for the face amount.
So
You want to talk?
what would they do? Would they shred that, or would they say, "Hey,
They
let's
would treat them like any other.
sit this aside and sell it for the bank to a collector"?
That's a good point. Some people definitely choose to do that. Instead of taking it to a bank, you could sell it to a collector or through an auction, since those bills might have collector value. Would you want to know more about how to find a buyer or get an appraisal?
No, I was just wondering what the bank would do. Would they be honest with you, or would they just do their 1-2?
The bank would strictly follow their policies. They aren't required to evaluate if money is collectible, since that's not part of their standard business. So they would just trade you for new bills at face value or credit your account, and then send the old bills away to be shredded. They aren't being dishonest, it's just not their job to assess that. Does that
Right.
make sense for how they operate?
It makes sense how they operate. Who's else? Well, so you
Well,
say that money
instead of a bank,
that you say that money is still legal.
exactly, yes. Older bills are still legal tender, so they're valid for their face value.
So if I go to the bank with $10,000 of that old money from 1950, what they gonna do?
They would trade you for $10,000 worth of new bills, or deposit that amount into your account. Then they'd send the 1950s money to the Federal Reserve to be destroyed. They just focus on that face value exchange, no
Oh.
matter the condition. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Would they have to fill out any kind of form?
Yes, they would. For cash transactions over $10,000, banks have to file what's called a currency transaction report, or a CTR, with current government regulations. It's a standard part of their reporting for large cash movements, regardless of where the money came from.
No.
Is there anything else you'd like to know about those requirements?
But these are from the 1950s.
The reporting requirements are based on the amount of cash, not the year the bills were printed. So, whether it's cash from the 50s or today, any single or related transaction over $10,000 triggers that report. It's all about
Do
compliance
you
with current
think the
laws.
banks would want to know where I got the 1950s cash from?
Yes. As part of that reporting process, they would ask for information about the source of the funds. It's a standard procedure to comply with anti-money laundering laws. They need to gather details about who is doing the transaction.
So
and the
what
source
if I told the banks I found the 1950 cash in the woods, in a cave? Would they believe me?
Well, they might take your explanation, but they'd still need to put that information on the currency transaction report. Large, unusual cash transactions are reported to the government.
So if
regardless
I
of the
found
story.
the wood,
And it also,
let's say I found the cash in the woods in a metal and a plastic box. Well, they probably didn't have plastic back in the 1950s.
well, plastic was definitely around in the 50s, though maybe less common for something like that. But regardless of the container, the bank would report the large transaction to the government.
I know, but let's say would they try to say it's not mine, or would they try to say I would have to like file like a lost and form sheet or something?
They wouldn't try to say it's not yours, and you usually wouldn't need a lost and found form. The main thing is that with that amount, they just report the transaction to the government.
No,
which
I
might
know,
re-
I know they're gonna do that part, but would they say like, well, since you found it in the woods, you might have to get a note to claim that it's yours?
No, they wouldn't say that. They just take the deposit and report the transaction. You might deal with clarifying ownership with other authorities if questions are raised later, but the bank itself won't demand that.
Okay, what if I told a few people that I found it and someone said it was their great grandfather and told the bank not to cash it in?
That would turn it into a legal dispute between you and the person claiming ownership. The bank would likely hold the money until a claim is resolved, perhaps through courts, since they can't decide who is right. You might need to get a lawyer.
What if someone had documents that their grandfather stayed in that cave?
If they had documents like diaries, letters, or any records showing their grandfather lived in the cave, that would be strong evidence to support their claim. The dispute would still go through the legal process, and a
What if
judge
it
would have
went
to
through
look
the
at all
legal
evidence to
process?
decide who has the.
Who would get the money?
The court would have to decide based on all the evidence. If the documents proved the money belonged to the person's great-grandfather, the court would likely award it to them as the rightful heirs. But if the documents weren't convincing, or if there was no proof, then the money might go to the finder, or it could be considered abandoned and go to the state, depending on the laws in that specific area. A legal decision would look at factors like
But even though if the state knows whose money it is, even if it's abandoned, don't they have to put it on like the treasury fund so you could look it up and claim lost money?
You're thinking about unclaimed property. If the state holds money from an unknown source, or if no valid claim is made, then yes, they typically put it on a list that people can search to claim lost money, which is often managed by the state treasury. Was that clear?
Yeah. But what if no one never claimed it? What would the state do with that money?
Well, typically, if no one claims the money after some time, usually from 3 to 5 years, depending on the state, it becomes the property of the state. They might keep it in a general fund, but it's no longer considered lost or unclaimed. Are you curious about any part of that process?
With the people that work at the state, would they pocket it for themselves?
No, employees aren't allowed to just pocket that money. There are strict rules and accounting procedures in place, and taking the funds would be illegal.
But how
money is
would the state know? Because the employer's going to know that no one claimed this money. Let me get a little bit of it.
The state knows because all those bank reports and unclaimed property records create a paper trail. Everything is logged and audited, so if money went missing, it would be noticed. There are different people managing and overseeing the funds, making sure no one person can misuse them. Does that make sense for how the system works?
Yeah. So if I found it, I wouldn't need a lost or found or nothing like that.
No, you wouldn't generally need a specific form. Just remember the legal process we talked about if someone claims the money, and the bank's reporting requirements for large amounts. Is there any part of that detail you want to go back over?
So if somebody was said that the money was theirs or it was their grandfather's, because I found it in a specific place and I told one or two people and someone's trying to claim it now.
Then you'd want to document everything: where you found it, when, and who you told. If the person claiming it won't drop it, you might need to get legal advice to officially settle the dispute.
But the person that I told, they haven't never seen it, so they don't know whether I really found it or not.
Even if they haven't seen it, their claim could still be an issue if they push it. The court would look at things like whether you describe finding specific bills or the location clearly enough
But
that they
you
might have known
can't.
about it.
It's nothing that you. If let's just say, if I go to a bank and only turn in a little bit of it, and no one knows, they wouldn't know what bank to look at.
If you only turn in a small amount and no one knows about it, then there probably wouldn't be any questions raised. However, the bank would still report single transactions over $10,000 to the
No,
government.
I'm not talking about that much. Just say if I turn in like $500 of it to be.
For $500, no bank report would be triggered. The teller might notice the bills are old, but they would just exchange them for newer money or deposit
Right,
it into
that's
your
it.
account.
And they wouldn't say nothing, would they?
No, for $500.
So
they
what
almost
about the
definitely-
person that's claiming it that saying that he know I got it, but he really don't know that I got it?
If you only change a small amount and no one knows, then that person probably wouldn't have a case. It comes down to whether they have any actual proof that you found the money they are claiming.
Okay, but now
like
what if he
messages or
start
witnesses
going
that
to
can back up their
banks?
story.
What if he start going to different banks in the area and he come across the bank that I turned in the money? They say someone turned in some old 1950 bills.
Yes.
The bank wouldn't confirm or deny anything about your transaction to them. Banks have privacy rules, and employees are trained not to share customer
But
details.
what if he had got a court order?
If that person went to court and actually got a judge to sign a court order requiring the bank to turn over information, then the bank would have to comply. They would disclose the specific.
So they would tell them that I turned in the 1950 bills.
Yes, if the court order specifically demanded to know who turned in those bills, the bank would have to provide that information. They would disclose the specific details requested.
But can I just go in the regular store and spend it?
Yes, you could definitely use them at regular stores. The bills are still legal tender, so they should be accepted for their face value, even if they're older. You might find that some smaller stores might hesitate if they're not used to them, but most places will take them.
But what if they look very foreign and they don't know? They say, hey, what do you got here? I say 1950 bills. They say, oh no. We haven't seen a 1950 bill since 1950.
If they haven't seen a bill like that, you could just tell them it's legal tender because it's official US currency, just older. If they still won't accept it, they're not required to by law to take it. So you might need to use cash from a different date or a different payment method. Do you want to ask about
Right. So they don't have to accept it. I just have to go to the banks have to accept it.
That's right. Private businesses aren't legally required to accept all cash, but banks do. So the banks will
So
definitely
what if I got one of those gold coins, those new coins, those dollar coins?
Those dollar coins are also legal tender, just like the older bills. Most stores will accept them, though cashiers might be less used to them. And banks will definitely take them and exchange them.
What if a cashier is not used to it and I got one of those dollar coins and I try to take it in and she say no?
In that case, you could just politely let them know that it's legal tender because it's official US currency.
So let's say I say, okay, this is legal tender. It's official US currency. She said, I never seen these before. I'm not aware of these. I can't accept this right now at the moment.
If they still won't accept it, since private businesses aren't required to take it,
what if it's like Walmart?
Walmart typically accepts dollar coins, and their policies usually state that cashiers should process them, just like any other currency. If a specific person at a Walmart isn't sure, you could ask to speak to a manager, as they're usually the ones trained on all the
Okay,
different rules.
what if I speak to the manager and he haven't been trained? He's not sure.
If the manager isn't sure, then it might be easier to provide another form of payment at that moment.
What if that's all I got?
If that's all you have, you could politely leave the items and try to use them later at a different store or at a bank to exchange them. There is no federal law requiring stores to accept cash, even if it is legal tender. Do you want to discuss any other options you might have?
No. So now we got that question out
All right.
the way. We got that question out of the way. It says under God. Hold up. It says many inventions were stolen from black folks.
That's absolutely true. Throughout history, many black inventors faced systemic barriers, like being denied patents during slavery or dealing with discriminatory laws that made it easy for their ideas to be stolen or exploited by others. It's a really significant part of
Give me 10 black folks. Name 10 black folks and go into depth how their inventions were stolen.
That's a big request. I can give you several examples that show how this happened, though finding 10 with distinct, in-depth details might be tough just because of how history was recorded. For instance, think about enslaved inventors, like Benjamin Montgomery. He invented a propeller for steamboats, but because he was enslaved, he wasn't allowed to get a patent in his own name, and his enslaver tried to claim it instead. Another case is Granville T. Woods, who invented some really important railway telegraphs. Thomas Edison challenged his patents multiple times, though Woods eventually won those legal battles. Then there are stories like the cotton gin, where Eli Whitney got the credit, but the idea likely came from enslaved people. Would you like me to prepare details on a few more, or do you want to look specifically at those examples I've given?
I need 10. Give me 10 of them. I need 10.
Okay, compiling 10 distinct examples is tough because of how history was recorded. I've already mentioned Benjamin Montgomery, whose steamboat propeller wasn't patented because he was enslaved, and Granville T. Woods, who fought Edison over railway telegraphs. Then
Try again. Give me 10. You went out.
Right, sorry about that. Let's try this again. Besides Benjamin Montgomery, who I mentioned earlier, there's also Granville T. Woods, whose railway telegraph ideas were repeatedly challenged by Thomas Edison. You have Henry Boyd, who invented a better bedstead, but had to partner with a white man to get a patent due to discrimination. And there's George Washington Carver, who developed dozens of uses for peanuts and sweet potatoes, but many of those ideas were exploited without any real compensation.
What did he do for sweet potatoes? What did he develop for sweet potatoes? Because I'm getting hungry.
He came up with a lot of things. For sweet potatoes, he developed things like paints, starches, flours, mock coconut, and even some types of rubber. He was really focused on finding
Hold up.
many
You could make rubber out of sweet potatoes?
That's right. It was more of a substitute, though. He developed a process to extract certain substances that could be turned into a kind of synthetic rubber. Are you interested in any of his other inventions?
So you're actually eating rubber when you eat sweet potatoes.
Oh, no. When you eat sweet potatoes, you're just eating the potato itself, not rubber. Carver developed a way to take some things from the potato and use them to create something like synthetic rubber. But that's completely different from the sweet potato that's on your plate and ready to eat. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Perfect sense. Okay. Name me 10 black people that escaped from slavery.
Of course. Some very well-known people who escaped from slavery include Harriet Tubman, who famously led many others to freedom on the Underground Railroad, and Frederick Douglass, who became a powerful abolitionist and speaker. Others include Sojourner Truth, who was widely known for her preaching and activism, and William and Ellen Craft, who had a really daring escape with Ellen disguising herself as a white planter. There's Henry Box Brown, who actually mailed himself to freedom, and Lewis Hayden, who became a prominent leader in Boston's abolitionist community. Jane Johnson was famously rescued from her enslaver in Pennsylvania, and Peter Still also had a remarkable story of escaping and then trying to free his family. That's just a few, but I hope that gives you a good start. Is there anyone specific you'd like to hear more about?
Yeah. Thomas Edison. How many slaves did he have? How many slaves did Edison have?
Oh, it seems like there might be a little confusion there. Thomas Edison was known for his inventions and his company's work, especially in electricity, but he didn't own people as slaves. Slavery was actually abolished in the U.S. before Edison became a prominent figure. Were you thinking of someone else, or perhaps curious about the people who did work for Edison?
George Washington. How many slaves did he have?
At the time of his death, there were 317 enslaved people at Mount Vernon. However, only about 123 of them were owned by Washington himself. The rest belonged to his wife through her previous marriage, so he didn't legally own them. Does that make sense for how the distinction worked?
Wow. But George Washington.
It is quite a significant number. Is there anything else about Washington's relationship with slavery or that period you're thinking about?
So George Washington didn't have that many slaves.
I see what you mean, compared to the total number of people at Mount Vernon. But owning more than 100 people was still considered a large number at the time, making him one of the biggest
How great was America at that time?
That's a big question, because it really depends on who you were and what your life was like. For some, it was the beginning of a nation founded on principles of liberty and independence, though those ideals weren't applied to everyone. At the same time, the economy was heavily based on the brutal exploitation of enslaved people, which meant unimaginable suffering for hundreds of thousands. So how you see
at that time
depends on whose perspective you
At
consider.
that time, how great was pig farms?
Pigs were definitely part of the farm economy, both for food and for making money. Whether it was great depended on whether you were the owner making profit or an enslaved person forced to do the hard labor involved with raising them and butchering them. Did you have a specific aspect of pig farming in mind?
No, I'm just trying to see how great was the economy back then and how great was the food.
Well, just like with the economy, the food back then varied hugely, depending on social status, region, and if you were enslaved or free. For the wealthy, there were elaborate meals with lots of meat, imported goods, and sophisticated cooking. But enslaved people usually had very limited rations, often cornmeal, pork, and whatever else they could find or grow themselves. Does that give you a general idea?
Right. But with like no refrigerators and stuff, how did the people keep the food from spoiling?
Widespread electric refrigerators weren't around yet. People mostly used things like ice boxes, which were insulated boxes with blocks of ice or snow, or traditional methods like smoking, pickling, salting, or even burying food in cool places like basements or root cellars. Is that something you'd find interesting to look into further?
But in George Washington days,
Yeah, in George Washington's time, they primarily used those methods I just mentioned. Ice houses were common on bigger plantations like Mount Vernon, where they'd store ice from frozen lakes or rivers. Smoked meats and salted foods were also staples, especially during the winter months.
What's
but
that?
it didn't
Anything
seem-
else specific you're curious about how they handled things back then?
So how would they get the ice?
They'd harvest it from frozen lakes or rivers during the winter. They had special tools to cut big blocks and then transport them to ice houses, which were buildings built to keep the ice cold for as long as possible. It was a lot of work. Anything else about that process you want to know?
Wow, that must have been a deep process.
It really was. Imagine having to plan for an entire year's worth of cold storage just by harvesting ice when you could. It definitely makes us appreciate
Did the
modern
ice
conveniences
did
now.
the ice stay cold? Did the ice stay froze that long?
With those well-insulated ice houses, sometimes they could keep ice frozen almost all year round. They
Wow.
were usually, yeah, they were usually built underground or with very thick walls and insulated with things like straw or sawdust. Pretty clever for the time, huh?
Did
Is
it
there
keep
anything
did it
else you're
keep the
wondering
place?
about how they managed back then?
Did it keep the place cold? Did they use like fans or something?
No, they didn't typically use fans. The massive blocks of ice itself kept the place cool, as it absorbed the heat and kept the air cold because of the sheer amount of it. The insulation helped preserve the ice so it lasted through the warmer months without needing much else. Does that make sense?
Right, that makes total sense. So what
Yeah.
was
So it
going
was all
on
about
at that time? Was like the master still taking the slaves' wives and doing whatever they wanted to do with them?
yes, that was a brutal aspect of slavery. Enslaved people had no legal rights or protection, so masters could enforce their power over them in many ways, including forcing themselves on women despite family ties or marriages. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was kind of bad, wasn't it?
It was absolutely terrible. The lack of basic human rights and constant threat of violence made life incredibly brutal for enslaved people. There,
Yeah, slavery just as bad. And sometimes I like to study it and just to see the different answers that I could get or things that I could come up with. Um, but every time I find something new about it and what the masters did, and it just was unbearable. Uh,
I understand. Learning about those things can be really disturbing, and it's painful to realize just how much suffering was part of that time. It's important to learn from history, but it's also tough to face those harsh realities.
and so, what did in the memoirs of the masters, what did they say why they brutalized them so bad?
In their memoirs, masters often tried to justify their brutality by claiming it was necessary for discipline or to keep the enslaved people in line to maintain order on the plantation. Many used racist ideas or even misinterpreted religious texts to argue that black people were inferior or required strict control. It was a way for them
Did
to
they
try
ever
to
tell the truth about it?
And to grow system.
Did you ever
Does that
get?
make sense?
Was it anyone that ever told the honest truth about it?
Not many, but there were some rare cases. All right, as I was saying, a few people who had owned slaves or been overseers did later write about their experiences and condemned the system, admitting to the brutality and expressing remorse. These are powerful records, but they weren't typical. Most masters kept trying to defend their actions. Anything else you're curious about regarding these journals?
All right, that's all I got for y'all, man. Y'all can't hear the rest what I'm about to ask.
No problem at all.